That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
You don't need to tell me. I already know, guys. It is way too early. It is way too early to be coming out here and running some victory laps on some players. I know it's only preseason. I understand that, but you have to cut me some slack. Okay, we've been in real money fantasy football drafts since February. This is all I do 24/7. This is what I live for. We finally have football. We're talking some preseason winners here. Now, yes, feel free to go to the comment section. Let me know that whatever I'm talking about doesn't really matter, that we still have a couple weeks till we get to the season. And no, of course, we are not drastically changing rankings based on one quarter of football that we get to see. But I honestly don't think that you need to be completely ignoring the preseason. I think there are going to be some valuable little tidbits that you can pick up and you can take going into your fantasy draft. So let's talk about those winners. Right before you go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, because we are doing live drafts every single night. And if you have yet to come out to our live drafts, make sure you hit that bell next to the subscribe button. That way you know when we're live. That way you can come out to the live draft. And that's going to be hosted on Underdog Fantasy. Sign up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. Deposit $10 when you sign up. They will give you $25 added onto your account with promo code FLOCK. You get my 2021 draft guide with hundreds of pages of information. You also get my 2021 rankings, my 2021 tiers. So, of course, take advantage of that. And yeah, that should be it. Let's go through. And I really need to give a shout out to PFF_Nate, JAHNKE. Now, I've never talked to this person before, but Jayan sent me a tweet of his that was going through and showing us some player snaps, and that's going to be very useful in the preseason. So we're going to be using the data that he collected watching those games. I have no affiliation with PFF. I have no affiliation with him. So, of course, I need to give him a shout out because this is his data. He put it out there on Twitter. So thank you for that. And let's go through and let's look at some of these snaps, and let's also combine what these players did in the game. And the first game I want to start with is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And not too much to take away from here, honestly. I want to say a slight winner, possibly Chase Claypool, and I'm just kind of reaching here. And the reason I'm doing that is because you're looking at it, and Mason Rudolph plays 17 snaps, and you have Deontay Johnson, 17, Juju Smith-Schuster, 15, and Chase Claypool, 14. Now, I understand y'all are saying, Mason, how is he a winner if he's playing less snaps than Deontay Johnson or Juju Smith-Schuster? Well, guys, when you're drafting a Chase Claypool, you know that the reason you're drafting him isn't necessarily because of his target volume. The reason you're drafting a Chase Claypool is based on his size-adjusted athleticism, and you think that can translate to elite levels of efficiency just like it did last year. So I think with the Chase Claypool here, it's going to be a very intriguing bet if he can continue to see about the same amount of snaps as a Deontay Johnson and a Juju Smith-Schuster, because if Claypool is seeing that amount of snaps, this is a receiver that I think is a perfectly fine guy to be drafting at his ADP, because we know that he's going to be a lot more efficient than Juju. He's going to be a lot more efficient than Deontay. What he needs is he needs the same type of volume. And of course, way more goes beyond it than just one quarter of snaps. But I want to call it Chase Claypool the tiniest of winner. I can't even move him up rankings, but at least we can start putting this on our radar. And now let's go over to the other side of it for the Philadelphia Eagles. And honestly, I don't have a single winner here. Maybe you say Zach Ertz doesn't look completely dead. But to be honest, with the Zach Ertz, I'm just kind of hoping that this is a tight end that gets traded out of Philadelphia. Maybe this is just selfishly because I've drafted a lot of Dallas Goedert. But it's going to be way too hard for me to try to reach and call Zach Ertz a winner. So now let's go over to a real winner, and this is going to be Jamaal Williams. And this is why it's so useful to go through and look at the amount of snaps that these running backs are going to be playing with the first team offenses, because of course, we're not looking at this in terms of the snaps in the game. No, you have to look at it in terms of their first team offense, their second team offense, and then everything is garbage after that, to be completely honest. And here, if we're looking at the first team offense, Jared Goff played 22 snaps. Do y'all have any idea how many snaps Jamaal Williams played? And of course, DeAndre Swift not fully healthy. DeAndre Swift didn't play in this game. But beyond that, we can look at Jamaal Williams and go, He played 22 snaps. And of course, DeAndre Swift's the running back one here. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is a big reason why you're drafting Jamaal Williams in the double-digit rounds is not only is this going to be a running back that has a role on his offense when DeAndre Swift is healthy, but at the same time, this will be a running back that apparently, if DeAndre Swift goes down, all of a sudden, he possibly has, I don't want to say bell cow type upside, but I mean, he can get used on all 3 downs. Now, if you just look at the stats for a Jamaal Williams, not necessarily that appealing. So I don't necessarily want to come out here and just go, oh, Jamaal Williams, must draft, must draft, must draft. But at the same time, we're looking at it going, well, at least we know if there's an injury ahead of him, we probably have a 3-down player here. So now our next team that we're going to go to will be the Dallas Cowboys. And here with Dallas, we're going to call Michael Gallup a winner. And the reason for this isn't necessarily just the amount of snaps that they played, because Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, we know pretty much both of them are going to play every single snap with the first team offense when Amari Cooper is out. And we have to put a big asterisk here because Amari Cooper did not play in this game. So we don't necessarily know how it's going to look like when Amari plays. But with the Michael Gallup, we have to go back to 2019 to remember his second season in the NFL. This was a player that had more targets per game and had more receiving yards per game than Amari Cooper. And I'm not saying he's a better receiver than Amari. Of course, we're not saying that. But we're looking back and we're remembering that Michael Gallup in that offense in that year played a role where he was playing a little closer to the line of scrimmage. He was getting a little bit more usage in the slot. Whereas last year, specifically whenever Dak Prescott was healthy, what was different about that is Michael Gallup played primarily as the field stretching receiver where you had CeeDee Lamb in the slot, and that is not going to be the skill set of a Michael Gallup. You do not want him being the field stretching receiver for an offense if you want to draft him in fantasy. What you want is you want some more usage in the slot, and we had reports coming out of training camp that that's exactly what that was going to happen with Michael Gallup. Now, of course, saying it is one thing, but when we see in this game that CeeDee Lamb plays every single snap on the outside and Michael Gallup gets some of the usage in the slot, I mean, I think you have to give Michael Gallup a small bump up. Like I'm saying, guys, we're not making drastic rankings updates here, but we are going to go through and we're going to talk about some small adjustments that we can be looking at. Maybe you use some of these preseason performances just to break a tie with what you have in your own drafts. So now let's go to Arizona. Let's talk about Rondale Moore. And what makes Rondale Moore so exciting here is that this is a receiver that not only went out there and got used in the slot and got targeted on a couple plays, but at the same time, what we said all offseason about Rondale Moore coming into the NFL, especially before the NFL draft, is I was saying, this is a receiver that he's an elite level athlete, very good at Purdue, has a true freshman season at 18 years old. He was one of the best receivers in the country. But what we needed to see, given the fact that obviously he's not the prototypical size, this is a very short wide receiver. I know a lot of people want to call him thicker Tavon Austin. But here, what we needed to see was him go and match up with a very creative, offensive-minded head coach. Because if he could find that pairing, that head coach could unlock Rondale Moore, which I think is happening right now in Arizona. Because you get multiple carries out of the backfield for Rondale Moore. And obviously it's not, okay, let's line up Kyler Murray under center. Let's just hand it off, halfback dive. No, of course it's not that. Cliff Kingsbury's diving up like multiple read options that include Rondale Moore. I don't know why he's showing them to us in the preseason. I feel like that's something you want to save to when it actually matters. But still, the fact that he's trying different ways to make sure that he's getting the ball into Rondale Moore's hands is 100% a positive sign, because we know that this is a player that can do great things when he has the ball in his hands. The problem is, can we get it to him? Now, our next winner, and this is where it comes in, guys. Y'all have avoided it until now, but the next few guys, I'm going to warn you. Yes, I am taking victory laps on players that we were way higher on compared to consensus, and the preseason just started. I should not even probably be making this video. I definitely shouldn't be taking victory laps on these players, but let me have some fun here, okay? Have some compassion for me. And let's talk about our guy, KJ Hamler. Okay, how many times have we, in those live streams, reached a little bit on KJ Hamler? Because I'm looking at him, I'm going, well, you know what? We know he has the talent. Yes, the situation is crappy. Yes, he's behind Jerry Jeudy. He's behind Courtland Sutton. But at the end of the day, this was a receiver that was a great prospect coming out of Penn State last year. He was the youngest receiver in the NFL draft. And I've said this word for word, I don't know how many times leading up until today, where hopefully everybody that was participating in the underdog best ball drafts with us leading up until this point. Hopefully, if you didn't participate in a draft with me, you actually went out there and you drafted KJ Hamler, because he goes out there and he shows exactly the kind of speed that he has. 2 receptions, 105 yards, and a touchdown, and he gets a carry as well. So it looks like maybe they're trying to get in the ball in a couple different ways. And what have we said so many times before? I have said, do not be drafting Jerry Jeudy. Do not be drafting Courtland Sutton. The problem is not only are they playing with a very bad quarterback, but at the same time, Noah Fant taking a decent amount of targets away from them. At the same time, KJ Hamler, an extremely talented wide receiver option. KJ Hamler finally starting to show people that he was drafted at 20 years old last year, guys. Keep in mind, when Najee Harris got drafted, he was 23. When KJ Hamler got drafted, he was 20. So this is a player that, of course, needed some time to develop in the NFL. It's only his second season. I'm going to expect KJ Hamler to continue to progress. If you're playing in a shallower format where you're in a 10 or an 8-man league, you can't draft KJ Hamler. But you have to put him on your radar because obviously Courtland Sutton not 100% healthy just yet. So love me some KJ Hamler. Not as much as our next guy. Now there's been nobody, and I repeat, nobody higher on this player over the past 6 months than we have been. Trey Lance. Trey Lance. Okay. I know we shouldn't be running victory laps. I know I shouldn't be telling the Justin Fields truthers that I told you so. I told you so. I know that Justin Fields looked good today as well, but I have a hard time to just hold back my excitement when it comes to Trey Lance. This is someone that we know has elite rushing upside. This is someone that the 49ers pay 2 future extra first-round picks and the 12th overall selection to move up and draft at 3. To go along with this, he's going to a Kyle Shanahan offense behind a great offensive line. And listen to his weapons. He has George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. There's never been, I think, a better situation for a quarterback drafted in the top 3 than Trey Lance is stepping into. At least not that I can remember. Maybe way back in 1998, someone wants to bring something up and say, whoa, Mason, look at this. You forgot about this situation. No, but Trey Lance going to a team that was just in the Super Bowl in 2019. Things fell apart last year with a multitude of injuries. They trade up, they go and get an elite stud quarterback. You need to be drafting Trey Lance in every single league. He has the potential to be a Josh Allen in San Francisco. That's all I have to say. And that's all we've been saying all offseason, especially for everybody a part of the Dynasty Football flock. Y'all know how many Dynasty rookie drafts everybody a part of the flock has Trey Lance in. So I'm excited for Trey Lance. I'm excited for ourselves. And I'm excited for everybody that has been watching the channel and has drafted Trey Lance this offseason. So now let's go. Let's calm back down. Let's get back to reality. And let's go talk about Marquez Callaway. Okay, so here's Marquez Callaway. So you pull up the stat line, 3 receptions, 61 yards. And I know that you look at that, you go, oh, okay, that's pretty impressive for a preseason game. But what's more impressive about this is all of these came on the first drive for the New Orleans Saints. Because obviously you're not caring too much about stats that happened in the third quarter, the fourth quarter. No, these happened on the first drive. You saw Taysom Hill consistently look towards Marquez Callaway. Now, I'll say in shallower formats, Callaway is not necessarily a player you need to be paying too much attention to, but in those deeper leagues, Marquez Callaway could be a great bench wide receiver. This is someone that's been getting a ton of positive buzz coming out of training camp. Obviously, we have no idea what's going on with a Michael Thomas, and who's to say that Traquan Smith really is the wide receiver 1 there. Now, I understand Traquan Smith did not play in this game, so it's very hard to just look at one quarter that we had from Marquez Callaway and call him the wide receiver 1. So I'm going to hesitate. I'm not going to do that. Like I said, we're trying not to overreact. I'm trying my best, my dudes. And please put me in my place down there in the comment section. I would love for you to go to the comment section and tell me why I'm overreacting. And I know a lot of people are going to think I'm overreacting with this next one, but can we just go through and tell me 2 running backs in the middle rounds that I have been consistently telling everybody to avoid in fantasy drafts? Mike Davis and who's the other person? Mike Davis and Myles Gaskin. And everybody always comes out and says, Mason, why are you avoiding Myles Gaskin? This is a running back that's going to be the starting running back on the Miami Dolphins. Why are you drafting Javonte Williams? Why are you drafting Kareem Hunt over Myles Gaskin? And my argument every single time is you don't want to be drafting a player that you believe to be a subpar talent at the running back position just because he projects to see opportunity. Because we have seen time and time again that those players being drafted in the 5th round, when yes, the opportunity looks like it may be there on paper, we are very bad. And when I say we, I mean the entire fantasy football community. We are very bad at kind of projecting how the entire season is going to play out. We know that football, and more in particular, fantasy football, is extremely random. So we were a little worried about Myles Gaskin, and time for another victory lap. Who were we saying was a running back that was a very discount guy that you wanted to be getting in one of the last rounds of your fantasy drafts? Malcolm Brown. I mean, JN, he was DMing me, all excited about Malcolm Brown. Now, obviously, JN is a massive UT fan. So of course we've liked Malcolm Brown. I'll say maybe one of the reasons we like Malcolm Brown is because he came from the same area I grew up. He went to the same college I did. So of course I'm a fan of him. But my explanation on why we were going out there and why we were looking at Malcolm Brown in those deeper formats is this is a running back that had the talent to take away touches from both Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers last year. So if he had that kind of talent and the Miami Dolphins go out there and pursue him, I think we have to take note. Now, I will say, you pull up the stat line, very bad for Malcolm Brown. This is someone that had 9 carries, only 8 yards. So, of course, that is horrendous. But what is very notable here is if you look at the first team offense, you actually have 16 snaps for Malcolm Brown. You have 7 snaps for Myles Gaskin. Myles Gaskin was getting some snaps with the second team in there. So you have to be at least a little worried for Myles Gaskin. Yes, Myles Gaskin, I will admit, definitely the more talented running back than Malcolm Brown. Now, the question is how much? We don't necessarily know. So I'm just going to maintain my stance that if you're drafting Myles Gaskin in the 5th round of your fantasy draft, you're doing something wrong. Now, I don't know if we should recap or just end the video here, but just kidding. You know what we are doing. You know what we are about to do. Last week, we put out a video saying draft Rhamondre Stevenson in the last round of your fantasy football draft. We got a lot of hate on that video telling me, Mason, why the hell are you ever going to draft Rhamondre Stevenson? They have Sony Michel, they have Damian Harris, they have James White. And my argument is, hey, who knows if Sony Michel's on the roster come week 1? Hey, Damian Harris hasn't necessarily been that impressive as a 3-down running back. He's been a first and second guy that's been great and just running between the tackles, but he's not getting any targets out of the backfield. And James White's like 34. So with Rhamondre Stevenson, he's selected in the 4th round out of OU. This is a running back that I don't want to say profiles similarly to Damian Harris, but I don't think the talent level is that much different. And if you get just a hot stretch, we know what is the rule every single year for New England. The rule every single year since the end of time has been what you do is you draft the cheapest guy in the backfield. This year, that player was Rhamondre Stevenson. I hope you drafted him because he comes out 10 carries, 137 yards, and 2 touchdowns. This has been a great week 1. I know I'm overreacting. I understand that this doesn't necessarily play too much into what we are going to be doing this upcoming season, but still, I'm just excited. And please make sure you're going down there, dropping a like on the channel, subscribing to the channel to make sure that you're coming out to those live streams that we host every single night. And yeah, that's all I got for you, my dudes, and have a great day. We have had the craziest amount of support over on Patreon. Thank you, Colby, Ryan, Spencer, Seb, It's Easy, David, Justin, Christian, Tyler, and Robert. Thank you.